Today, I will start by talking about, what I'm going to do is talk about my general attitude towards adversity today. And then over the next few coaches' corners, I'm going to be speaking to specifically how I use my overall outlook to help in different difficult situations that might arise, such as being intimidated by a better player, or being, afraid of being, losing, or being afraid of missing a ball, or, just different things, that all the different situations that can come up. It's almost like Deadstroke. Like, there's a certain mindset that I want to have, and then I use these tactics to help allow me to get back into that mindset. So to start with, I will say, welcome to another Coach's Corner. This is Demetrius Jelatis. I'm with MN Pool Bootcamp. That's me. So you can email me questions at info@mnpoolbootcamp.com, or check out my website to find out how I do my 3-day trainings. But in any case, what I want to talk about is attitude towards adversity. And all my mental game stuff starts with reality-based and accepting reality. It's all about accepting reality. And I think that there's a couple problems that people have when it comes to adversity, is that a lot of people, they don't really embrace and accept the reality of what we're doing here. And so I was thinking about this, and here's the way I explained it to one guy. I was like, hey, the game is supposed to be hard. Like, if we pictured for a minute, I feel like the Twilight Zone, picture, if you will, a world in which, suppose we didn't have rails on the table, and the game was that we just shot into balls and knocked them off the table. That would be a game that would be pretty boring, because you would never miss. Or if the game started with all the 6 balls hanging in the corners, and you just had to run around the table and shoot those 6 balls in, it would be very boring. The game wouldn't be fun because it's not challenging, and it's just, you lose interest. It's just not even a game, because a game implies, or requires an element of risk and a certain amount of loss. So what do we do in pool? What makes pool a great game is that the balls aren't all hanging, and that we have, in 8-ball, we have clusters that we have to break open, and balls that block pockets so that we have to get short side. And when that happens, what do? Do we go to the pool hall saying to ourselves, I hope every time I break, nothing is touching a rail and nothing is blocking another ball and everything's hung up, so I'm not challenged at all today? Is that what we're hoping? No, we say to ourselves, I am going to try to bring the skills that I've developed to try to overcome those challenges. And that's what we do. Is we've learned in pool, we've identified. So these are some key patterns, guys. Number one, we've identified what are the challenges we're likely to face. We identify that we're likely to face balls that block other pockets, and we're likely to face balls that are tied up, and we're likely to face, some difficult shots or some difficult cue ball positional shots. So then we've identified those challenges, and then we spent our years of playing pool developing the skills to overcome those challenges. Maybe we learned to bank the balls, or maybe we learned to get short side or tighten up our cue ball and play good patterns. So then when we go to the pool hall, we're not sitting there saying, I hope nothing's tied up today. We go there with kind of an attitude that says, I hope that I'm going to look forward to challenging myself to use the skills that I've developed to overcome the challenges that I'm likely to encounter. And that's what I'm going to, I enjoy that. Like, that's what I'm looking forward to. That's why I play this game. But for some reason, people enjoy testing their physical skills that they've developed to overcome physical challenges. But they hate testing their mental skills against mental challenges. And so for some reason, when people play a match, they're like, man, I was feeling pressured. I can't believe I thought that. I hate it when I get nervous. I just hate that. Or it's like, man, this guy is intimidating too bad. I can't stand that. Or, there was distractions going around, and I was distracted by life, and I wasn't even able to get in the match. And they're like mad about it. And I'm like, when you play pool, there are physical challenges and there are mental challenges, and you have to handle them the same. And so I will start by saying a couple things. One, anything between you and the finish line is part of the game. So that means that if you've got, if your boss is texting you something and that's distracting you, then that is part of the pool game every bit as much as the shot you're about to take on, because it's a challenge between you and the finish line that you have to deal with. So anything between you and the finish line, fatigue, waitresses that are, asking you, do you need another drink during your shot, whatever it is, that's part of the game because it's between you and the finish line. So the first rule is anything between you and the finish line is part of the game. The second thing is that your attitude towards that has to be to learn to identify what are the non-physical things between you and the finish line that have in the past impacted your performance. How do you identify those things? How do you develop your skills to overcome those things? And then when you go to play, you're not sitting there saying, gosh, I hope I don't get nervous tonight. Because when you go to a tournament saying, and this is kind of ties back to our listener question, if you go to a tournament saying, boy, I hope that thing doesn't happen where I'm playing good players and I get intimidated and I can't count on different parts of my game and I'm nervous about losing, I hope that doesn't happen. To me, that's the same as saying, I hope I get a bunch of easy shots tonight. Whereas I feel like a champion says to themselves, I'm likely to be in those situations. I'm looking forward to using this mental strategies and skills that I've developed to take on head on some of those challenges so that I can find out, so I can test myself. And that's part of the game. That's what I love. And so that's what I would say is that the big problem why a lot of people have poor mental games is because they don't treat it the same as they treat the physical game. They resent it. They either deny that it's real by saying, oh, I don't feel pressure, or they resent that it's real by being upset when they succumb to these things. And because they get upset or they deny its existence, they never identify what's thinking them and develop strategies to overcome it. So my whole point here is to welcome mental adversity into the game, make it as every bit as real and meaningful as physical adversity, and don't treat it any differently. So then as we go into the future here on these episodes, I can talk a little bit about what some of that mental adversity is, how it plays out, how I try to overcome it. But before I leave, I guess I'll just talk about your attitude towards adversity in general, which is adversity, not only is it what makes the game real, that is where you can gain an edge on your competition. Because if there was no physical pressure, if there was no physical challenge, and if there was no mental challenge, if the game was super easy and you were not tested, not only would it not be enjoyable for you, how could you ever beat anybody? Nobody would ever miss. Nobody would ever choke. Nobody would ever struggle. And so the champion looks at adversity as a good thing, because adversity is what makes it so that not everybody can succeed. So that the person that prepares and tries and more valiantly will then end up winning. So if you want to win, adversity is critical because it's the only way that you can lose your competition. If it was all easy, everybody would tie it for first. And so when you see things that are difficult, you need to get excited and say, I love this adversity. This is where I get to shine. In other words, if you're running a race where everyone's running neck and neck and neck the whole way until you get to that obstacle that you got to scramble over. And that's when you see people start sorting out into first and last. Without that obstacle, you can't take the lead. And so when you see the obstacle, you have to realize this is where you can actually get an edge and get a lead on your competition. And so this is not bad. This is your chance to lose your competition by handling this adversity better than your peers. And so when I experience adversity, and of course, when I'm in a good state of mind, my attitude is bring it on. The more, the merrier. Make it tough. And this is my chance to lose my competition. And so I boil it all down to watch this. In my mind, when things get tough, I think to myself, watch this. Now is my chance to lose my competition. Watch how well I respond. Sometimes I look up at the sky and say, is this all you got? Make it tougher. Let's, give me the wrench, the Goodwill Hunting. I take the wrench. Like, let's make it really, really hard, because even if I don't succeed in this moment, I know that my attitude towards this and my response towards this is going to give me an edge. And this is where how I handle this is going to give me an edge over my competition. And that's how I lose my competition a lot of the time. So that's my overall approach to adversity. It's part of the game. Mental adversity is part of the game. I embrace it. I identify, I try to overcome it, and I'm grateful for it because it's my only chance to actually win anything ever. And so it's not always at the same time. You face adversity one day that they might not face. So it doesn't even out in the moment, but it evens out in the long run. And so that's the part you just have to have faith that it may not even out roles this set, but in the end, the person that has the better attitude towards adversity is going to usually do really well. So that's my part one. Now, in the next part of these Coaches Corners, I'll be talking specific different types of adversity you might face and how specifically you can handle that. So very good. That's what I got.